how far the MCU has come since 2008 could have been radically different had just a few different pieces fallen into place slightly differently, such as how originally the Avengers added Wasp as a main character. Now, not only that, this was done because Black Widow was never actually a part of the Avengers to begin with, so who knows how that might have played out. So it's a well-known fact, I think, by now, that Joss Whedon and his take on the Avengers and the MCU going forward with the Avengers would have been different, and how everything connected to everything that was going on, whether it's TV or the MCU. Where we would be today would be pretty different had the lineup of the Avengers been different. Now, previously, we talked about the fact that Wasp was supposed to be the central character, the main character, the focus, the eyes to the Avengers world for us in the Avengers. But they changed that during the course of development of the film when Kevin Feige didn't like it. So we also have some more info on why this decision was made. Essentially, they actually did not have Scarlett Johansson on contract for when they needed her for because of other projects she was committed to, so she was not able to actually shoot the film. Due to the development of the script and how they had to write it, she was completely written out of the script. Black Widow was not a member of the Avengers at all. Instead, Wasp would have taken her place and been a founding member of the Avengers, with Black Widow left over for another film. Now, we can probably assume this would have been at the one point the Hawkeye film, or maybe even the Black Widow standalone film, or maybe even that Nick Fury S.H.I.E.L.D. film that they were working on. But overall, it sounds like that things were moving along in such a different direction that had Scarlett Johansson not been able to free up, that this original film literally could have happened. We could have had Wasp in the MCU that early, which paints an interesting picture on how the MCU would have unfolded, considering you have Wasp now. So what happens with Ant-Man? Would Ant-Man have moved forward so they can get that synced up with everything? How far along was Edgar Wright's script at the point? Was he already having those problems where he didn't want it in the MCU and it just felt like a mishmash of things and ideas that didn't work in the MCU, and it felt like it was a completely different film that didn't connect to anything? I mean, all this info is just making you think of how the smallest little change could have affected everything. And Black Widow went on to become like the only female character in the MCU for the first half of the MCU that was, a hero. Imagine how that would have looked if they already had her, and then suddenly the Wasp is front and center, and she's the only one, and she's the one that can do everything. It's like, oh, no, I'm the main character of the MCU now. That definitely sounds very Joss Whedon-y if you ask me, and I personally don't think it would have worked. The Avengers worked because of the way it was. You already knew all these characters.